All right, welcome to Inspired Creation. If this happens to be one of your first videos watching, this is all about me going through my awakening and ascension process, um, and also trying to help and give any information to anybody I can who resonates with this at any point in time. Uh, I think. I've been putting off really, I guess, for a while, starting to go through some of the teachings and understandings, some things that, really since I received the download through that meditation that I talked about in one of my previous videos, uh, and since then as well, like, some of this stuff, there's such a knowing now, versus a wondering or thinking about, or maybe this and maybe that, uh, and also like I understand and can see a lot of things now and how they work, Uh, and also a lot of this stuff is from seeking the knowledge and looking and paying attention to all these different groups of people uh, at all different periods of time, you know, with all different religious or personal beliefs or ideas and etc. Right? Uh, and really starting to dig deep into all of them and what they believe and what they talk about, etc. And you really start to notice things and connect a lot of dots. Uh, so I think that it's important for me to start talking about some of the teachings, some of the understandings, some of the things that I just intuitively know now. Uh, you know, and getting some of that out. And in the process of doing that, some of these will, they can even help with eliminating some worries or thoughts or maybe even fears about some of this stuff, because um, when I start talking about the teachings and uh, things to know and understand, right? Uh, a big important thing to know about that right off the bat uh, is that there's different levels of perspective and understanding to almost all of these, right? Um, and and that's because you know, and I'll get to this, but there's a concept of everything is, but it isn't, right? And there's a little truth in every lie and a little lie in every truth, right? Uh, and I'll really get to that. But the reason that those are really, really correct is because uh, everything really is perspective. It's how you see it, how you look at it, versus how another sees it and looks at it, versus how a higher consciousness sees it and looks at it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the way up to the Most High, right? Um, and so on each level of looking at things, right? There's truths to them, that when it goes up to the next perspective and understanding and higher vision and sight of it, but some of those things start to become untrue, and some of the what was untrue about him start to become true, right? And if that was confusing to you, we'll get there, okay? But I think you follow, so a lot of these teachings are going to be like that, where there's multiple levels of looking at them, thinking about them, paying attention to them, applying them to the world, applying to people, right? Um, One of the really biggest things to find out and discover and understand here, okay, is that you know, this place, this reality, right? It's not made of billions and trillions or infinite amounts of never-ending blueprints, right? Of how things are made and work and etc. Right? It's it's not like that, you know. It's you really come to find out that it's like there's a handful of blueprints, okay, and they replay out on every level, you know. And so, like, this kind of leads me into one of the teachings, and I guess maybe I should start here. And yeah, it wasn't my intention when I started this video, but I think now this is just where it's gonna go. I see a lot of videos about this teaching, very negative and very incorrect. Uh, and you know, I know there's understandings of certain groups of people who take this teaching in incorrect ways. Again, they're they're showing themselves in their consciousness. This is one thing as you're going through this and understanding all these things, is you're going to start to learn ways that you can read people. You know, you can see exactly who they are and where they are at in their process of life, right? By the things they say, the things they do, etc. Right? And then you know their level of understanding. Okay, it's really true. Like I've heard this said before in life and never, but people actually really do show their own ignorance. Uh, you know, and positivity and etc. Everything, and we show everything. Body language is more than what somebody says out of their mouth. Body language is way more valuable, right? The fruits, you judge someone by their fruits, by what they do, by what they produce, by not by what they say, because people can say anything, right? Anyways, this isn't the point, so we'll just step into one of these first very important principles. And like I said, it wasn't my intention, so I wasn't prepared for this, but I think I got it anyways. So one of the real big understandings that you have to come to conceptualize and understand this, and then start to see it and apply it, right, is the principle of the as above, so below. And really, that's not even the end of that statement, even though most of the time that's just all you hear is as above, so below, as above, so below, right? And people muck it all up, and some people don't, it really depends on their understanding of it. Anyways, the more complete that is the as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, right? And as without, if you conceptualize it wrong, so within, right? Okay, these polarities flip just like the polarities of anything else. Okay, there's not millions of blueprints and billions and infinite. There's an infinite amount of things here, right? There's not infinite amounts of blueprints of how they're made and work, including us, especially biological things, right? I haven't made a video about this, and I probably won't, because there's so many videos out there already about the math of God, what's often called the fingerprint, the thumbprint of God. There's lots of different names for it. It's the same thing. They're all talking about Fibonacci sequence and other things like this, right? This is like, the math of God, right? It totally makes sense. If you've never heard about it, if you don't understand it, if you don't know what it is, it'll kind of blow your mind if you watch and see a good video on it. And there are some really good ones out there that like really break it down, really show how this plays out in nature, how it plays out in most things, how it plays out in the stars, like etc. You'll start to see it in everything, and this is the reason, because this is one of the major blueprints. Okay? Biological, living creatures, beings, things, right? They start at their seed, and they're always trying to spiral upward, going back to source. And there is flat out math and proof in that. It's all over the world, all over the galaxy. Uh, this is the biggest reason why, if ever you got into like alien thing or UFO stuff or whatever, right? Life on other planets, right? This is why they're always saying that the common communication will be math, right? Because they believe that the math is universal, because the math shows life and how it works, at least here. You know, the geometry, everything, you can get it all out of it. Maybe one day I'll start to do some videos diving into that, but I think that you can find great ones already that I don't really know that I'd be adding anything to the conversation, to the top, you know. You could just search that and check it out yourself. How did I get to that? Because that's a big part of the as above, so below, right? Um, and then also, like I said, there's an inverse to that. As above, so below. As below, so above. And as within, so without. And as without, so within. If depending on your view in your life and how you are. And this is a big difference between like when we're asleep, right? When we're sleeping, and I don't mean sleeping at night in our bed. I mean this whole part of your life up until you start to have an awakening and start to go through an ascension process. We are asleep. We're like zombies out here. Those that is the real zombies. The day I realized how much I was a zombie, like I can, imagine. Like at the same time, I reflect through my life and whatever, and I've always been me and who I am, and I've always been working toward this. I've been expressing things to this, and I never realized it, etc. Right? Uh, and that why? Because I was asleep, man. They're very successful at, this is the difference between an organism. Most cells, most organisms, most things, right? They're of the same blueprint. Okay. And you can find stuff about this too. Very famous scientists did big, experiments and stuff and whatever. And one thing that is very, very uh, um, is profound, but I mean, it's common knowledge really to anyone who gets into science and anything at all, right? Is that what creates the difference of the cell when it grows, right? Is the environment, because like the DNA of living things is adaptive. Like think about us humans, we adapt to almost anything we can, especially if you try or if you're forced to. You can adapt to just about anything. Yeah, some stuff will kill our bodies, but there's a real big, and this is part of what makes people different and who they are and look different, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, a tree, a blade of grass, whatever. The things that decide what color it is, what size it is, etc., stuff like this, right? Is more so the environment that the cells develop in, right? I think I'm getting off topic. It's easy to do with this, so I apologize for that. Uh, where am I? Like the as above, so below, as within, so without. If you twist it up and take it wrong, like that's where I was while we're asleep. We this is how we sabotage ourselves on accident. Is that we don't know how we attract things to ourselves. Um, we're not aware of that. That's, people are hiding that from us. No one wants to tell you or teach you, and you may or may not have noticed it. Most of the time, if you have, you probably called it a coincidence or something like that and not really paid it any mind, and you go right back to sleep and living and functioning your life like that. So while we're asleep, we do it backwards. We tend to pull everything that's without to within, and it gives us anxieties and fears and other psychological issues and problems, angers. It develops people into who they are. They start to become, some people become bullies, and some people are overly nice and they become doormats and let people walk all over them. You see, that's what we do when we're asleep and we don't know any better. No one's teaching us. People are hiding things from us, and we don't know how we attract things to us. So we are bringing this negative world that we live in, which it's not the worst all the time, right? But if you look at things, you're not happy with it. You don't really like it. You don't like how people act. You don't like how people treat each other. You don't like how you have to slave your life away for just enough, really, to get by and pay some bills and shit and do it again tomorrow. Right? It all becomes a big fuckery to you, especially if you have a lot of responsibilities and you take care of people and you do what you're supposed to do in life. If you are trying, you are out here dying while you're asleep. Right? and it takes, man, it takes a lot, to break you. Anyways, so my point was just that's the rest of this saying, okay? And we do muck it up while we're sleeping because we don't know no better, all right? And we reverse it and we pull the outside that we see, that we experience, that we feel, that hurts us, that makes us angry, etc., and we pull it in, and it starts to internalize in us and make us who we are, right? Okay, so now you're going through an awakening process, okay? And the biggest thing is discovering yourself, understanding yourself, who you are, who you really are, how not to give away your power, and etc. And like you're growing, right, from the inside out, right? And you're gonna start to do the opposite, because the opposite is what we're supposed to be doing. As within, so without. So if you understand yourself and you're happy with yourself and you're in blissful place, like enjoy, right? I'm a beautiful person. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I think. I know how good of a person I am. I know how I take care. I know. And I don't need to explain to anyone. And my job at the moment, whether it's really good, doesn't define me. If it's really bad, doesn't define me. Even if you don't have it, it doesn't define you and who you are. But most of the time, what happens, people, they come, if it's the first time they meet you or whatever, right? What's the first question on their mind? What do you do, right? We'll see, because this society is, it's flipped the importance of things upside down, okay? And so it's all about going to the what do you do? What do you do? And that defines you. Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, so you must be the greatest motherfucker there is. Maybe not. Might be a piece of shit. Oh, I'm some fancy ass lawyer. Oh, wow, that's great. It might not be. You might be an ambulance chasing fucking shithead causing a bunch of problems out here with your suing everything and frivolous lawsuits, right? Oh, I work at fuck McDonald's. Yeah, that sucks. You're not getting paid much. At the same time, you could be one of the greatest people that there is on a personal level around in your city. You know what I'm saying, right? Your job doesn't define you. Your fruits, what you produce, what you do, what you give out, your energy you give out, what you do for people, right? This starts to define you, okay, in ways. You can always change, you can always be different, etc., whatever. Okay, but what you do for work, for your job at the moment, or etc., right? This does not define you. It does not make you a good person automatically. It does not make you a bad person automatically. It doesn't make you stupid. It's just, this is what you do right now. Okay, for whatever reason, we all fall into different shit at different times. I've driven semi truck before, right? I've come and built your house before. I've sold you drugs before, okay? I told you, if you've paid attention and watched one of my videos before, I went to prison for 4 years of my life, okay? And this is, I think, where some things really started to kick off for me, actually. Although not really realizing it and not going through an awakening until years later. Anyways, my point is, and I could keep going, I've done many different things at many different times in my life that are opposite lifestyles, opposite beings, opposite whatever, right? And I've always been who I am, though, right? See, no matter which hat I had on at the moment, It didn't make me who I was, and it didn't decide whether I was a good person, whether I was a bad person, etc. Whatever. Okay. um, so why did I get into that? We're talking about flipping back. You start living once you have an awakening, right? You start living the opposite of what you're used to, which is the more correct way is as within, so without. Okay, so you start to learn and understand this, right? These external things do not make me. All right, even people in your life, you don't make me and you don't break me. I don't give you my power. Okay, you don't decide who I am and what I am or if I'm worthy or any of this. Okay, and damn it if we don't grow up having this drilled into us. Okay, if you're a self-conscious person, if you're shy, if you're etc., you follow what I'm saying. Okay, most likely you have internalized a lot of judgment over your life, especially probably while you were young and developing. All right. I can get into how I feel about that for my life, right? But this is gonna just take us off topic. So let's just keep it going. Uh, Sorry, that made me think about shit I don't want to think about at the moment. So you know, you start to learn this, and you start to learn and discover yourself and your power and your ability and who you really are and how these external things, this is all illusion. Okay, and this is part of the biggest part of your work is defeating these illusions. Okay, these things do not make you, they break you, they take away your power, and you want to empower yourself. So what this great work is doing, you're going within. Okay, meditation is majorly important, and we're gonna go within, and we're gonna start to understand and wake up to who we are, what we are, how we give away our power, how to keep our power, how to become everything that we ever dreamed and wished we could be, because we can. It's our ability, it's our right, it's here for us. And the only difference is whether you believe you can do it or not. And either way, you're right. If you believe you can do it and you actually go and try and do it, eventually you're going to do it. It may or may not be in the way you saw it and thought it, okay? But it's going to happen for you if you're persistent and if you're working at it and if you're trying to do it, okay? That it's just the way it works, all right? Now, if you believe you can't, then you will never try. You'll never put in a real effort. You may put in zero effort, whatever, you know what I'm saying, completely, right? You may decide, well, you're kind of on the fence, and then you'll half-ass it, and this is how things kind of work out, and then don't work out ultimately, right? Okay, we have to come into our own power, understand ourselves, work on ourselves, know how things work, and start projecting, okay? Becoming a co-creator of this reality, because this is really how it works and this is really how it is. If you don't believe me on that, I say take my word and follow the path if you're on it, and you're going to discover that, okay? If you're not on it and you're just judging this, then stop watching my video. Alright, we'll just leave that at that. I don't want to get into any negativity. So, that's one of the biggest things as above, so below. Is first of all, that's not all of the same, okay? And to continue it is the so within, so without. And when you muck it up, it's as without, so within. And this is waking up and reversing that, okay? So now you're gonna start to learn how to know yourself, be yourself, and project yourself, therefore creating your reality, the one you want, the one that you would appreciate, the one that you would love, versus the one that you create when you're holding on to all that judgments of the world, right? And you know, feelings of whatever you've hung on to, you know, negativity and things from your past, etc., right, and how they affect you. We got to start clearing that and then consciously projecting what we want. And this is how your life is going to become what you want it to be. Okay? Uh, what else about as above, so below? So then the big thing about the blueprints that I was saying, this is a huge thing about it. As above, so below, as below, so above. Okay, you got to pay attention to that part too. This is how all the scientists and inventors and whoever, this is how most people have figured out how things work. Okay, is that there's not a billion, trillion, infinite amount of blueprints for everything and how it's made and how it's worked. There's a handful. There's laws, there's ways that things work, and when you discover how they work on one level and you consciously, objectively, open-mindedly apply that concept to something else, you will successfully learn how that works and functions, how you can create it, etc. I could talk about this all day, millions of examples to prove this. But I kind of think once you hear and understand and pay attention to think about what I just said, you'll start to notice it everywhere for yourself. Okay, um, when they figure out what works on the macro, which is the way large, right, like planetary system, okay, galaxy type stuff, right? Then you can apply that same stuff to the micro, all the way down to the micro, which means you're getting down to atoms, right, and cells, and you know, things of that nature. What do they start talking about? Now the word is gonna slip my mind here. They start talking about quantum physics, right? Get into quantum physics. Quantum physics can help you understand a whole lot of things. I'm sure I'll be talking about a few topics from that in some more videos to come, because I want to start getting out the knowledge and the truth of the knowledge, the real teachings, not the fuckeries. Because I'm telling you, every teaching, everything you find, first of all, has different levels, different perspectives, and has a positive and a negative, and you can follow either side and be confused by following just one side, not understanding the other, etc. Right? Almost everything out here, you will find negativity to, and you will find positivity to, and that's just, this is the delusion, right? Of duality, all right, and we're learning to defeat it. Okay. Uh, so I kind of got a little off there. So yeah, you can figure out and discover how things work on the macro. You can apply it down all the way down to the micro. In the same reverse, if you figure something out on a small scale, you can definitely apply it to a large scale. This is for surely true. Okay, and this is how these inventors and people and scientists and stuff figure out how to make things. And you know, it's so serious. Like video games are like a really great, easy example of this, especially now with like the virtual reality. You can put the goggles on and you're in a new land, right? I'm telling you, I, I don't want to get into it now because it's a really long talk and it's gonna take this video all off. But how do you think they figured out how to make this new reality, this new GameCube, this new Xbox? All right, we'll get into that too. There's a symbolism in that, right? How do you think they figured out how to make these video games that you can go into this new reality and live and experience and whatever? And guess what? You die, but you don't really die, do you? Does your consciousness, right? Oh man, I have to make a whole nother video on its own, just explaining the as above, so below virtual reality into this reality, into our next reality. This is a dimensional existence, and it's a clear, very, very clear example of it. And this is how my point was, that this is how they figured out how to do it. If you can figure out how this place works and the things here and how they work, then you can configure how to create another one, a fake one, a false one, a shittier copy, right? But that you could transfer your consciousness into, put these glasses on, and live out some other experiences, and no matter what happens, it doesn't affect you here, etc., right? You see, staying on topic is just, there's a small amount of blueprints for things, and they replay out over and over and over. And so as above, so below, and as below, so above. And this just means from the microscopic on up to the macro, to the huge, to the planetary, that the laws, the rules, the way things work, the same blueprints are just playing out over and over and over and over again, right? And so this is why, if you pay attention to numbers and stuff too, in numerology, like, and how many of there are this, and how many of there are that, and how many are there this, you'll start seeing the planes of things where there's wow, there's 7 of this, 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 7 of that, right? Then you start paying attention again, and maybe you get a different understanding, and oh shit, it's really, there's 9 of this, 9 of this, 9 of this, 9 of that, 9 of that, 9 of that, 9 of that, right? You're gonna start, as you seek and go through the knowledge and understand things, and I'll keep trying to make videos too. I just don't want them all to be rambling on for hours, because this stuff all connects, right? And so it's easy to do that. But you're gonna start to see and connect the dots of everything, right? And it's amazing. It's wild. It's kind of mind blowing, and at the same time, like, just it's just pretty cool. And then you're also start to think to yourself, duh, you know, really, duh, no brainer. Like, wow, I wish I could have got a clue earlier. I'd have been inventing stuff. Or, you know, maybe if I was able to be my mind a little more nourished and go to, you know, doesn't matter. So that's another step of the as above, so below, as below, so above, right? Is that there's these things work in the same ways, the same patterns, okay? Just on different planes of existence, different levels of things, okay? So if you figure out, and then cross-referencing between the two is how you can connect dots and figure things out further. Like, I should have some good examples for this, and if I were sitting down to make this video, I would have been like a little more prepared for it. But actually, I sat down intending to make a different video and kind of just got to this, so this is where we're at. But don't worry, like, I touch on stuff and get deeper in teachings too later. So, you know, what's another, what did I give you? I gave you at least 2 aspects of the as above, so below. Plus I completed that for you too, if you'd never heard that before or come across that knowledge. Another as above, so below. You can look at this on like a spiritual realm too. You know, you never forget about that, even though it's not a 3-dimensional physical thing that you think about. Okay, if you're going through this, something you're doing big time is working on your spirituality, understanding what that even is, you know. And so, you know, you want to kind of apply these teachings and practices, if you can, to your spirituality as well, right? And so, you know, there's an as above, so below, and coincidentally, like I said, as below, so above, to all the spirituality as well, okay? Um, and a really big part of that is understanding and discovering that you are not here alone. I know for me, myself, I felt like that many, many times in life, even though I have people around me and people I'm taking care of and etc. and whatever. And obviously, I'm not alone, but I feel very alone. I feel like people, they just don't get it, and etc. And I don't want to get into all that right now. But I felt very alone all the time, and so I know how this can be, and I know how people can feel like that, and we're probably similar people going through this. So, anyways, you discover that you're never alone. There's other pieces and parts of you that are not visible to our eye and light spectrum, but they are still here. They they're here, uh, and being able to see them and feel them and connect to them, uh, and all they are is just different parts of you. These are more higher dimensional parts of you. Okay, uh, and you could. I'll talk about that in a different video. So you can connect to them, all right, and like I said, you start to see and understand how you have never been alone here. Okay, you've had these higher parts of you. You've had these spirit guides. You've had these things have been around you always and have been trying to work with you, help you, guide you, always protect you. Okay. Um, and the thing to know is, yeah, these are on a higher plane. These are on a higher vibration, a higher a spiritual existence than you are right now, right? But they're here to help you, right? They're a part of you, and you have to realize and conceptualize this, right? And then what happens is you can bring this into you, you know. You can channel this energy. You can channel their knowledge. They can give you messages, etc. Right? You can know what they know. You can have a knowing like they have a knowing. Okay, you can connect with this, um, and what happens is you go through a transformation, and it's because it's as above, so below, right? As below, so above. Once you make this connection, it starts the process to meld, and this is what you want. This is what it's all about. Okay, uh, and so you're gonna start to realize more and more who you are. You know, uh, what your power is, right? How not to give it away, etc. The lies, the deceit, the things, they start to be revealed to you because you start to see how things work, how people work, how they think, how they act, and you can start to see who they are from a mile away, right? This has a big change on you and your life and how it goes. Your luck, if you want to look at it that way. Like you start to create, like I said before. This is all part of the work. You're bringing that down into you, and you're bringing yourself up and better, more to what you're supposed to be in the first place. Okay, uh, and we have to do this for ourselves. No one can do this for you. This is an inner work, an inner understanding, an inner thinking, conceptualizing, doing. Okay, this is the ultimate test. This is what we're here for, I believe. This is what I'm here for, I think. And I can get into that, but again, I don't want to cloud this video with a bunch of extra stuff. Uh, you know, Just to stay on topic. So this is on a spiritual level. This is what you want to do. You want to bring it as above, so below. Bring the higher realms, the higher dimensional parts of you down into you, right? And go adversely, uh, as below, so above, right? So you want to transcend now who you were to who you are, and to what you will be, right? This is very, very similar to the process of a caterpillar turning to a butterfly. All right, this is cocoon phase, uh, and at the end of it, you're gonna fly away. Now, I don't think it's ever really over. It's just another level of learning, conceptualizing, and understanding now, because learning and growing never ends and never stops. Uh, is just continue to make your way up back to source. Okay, so um, this is also, when this happens, it's gonna start to show. You know, you're gonna start to feel better and stronger and wiser. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right, all on the inside. And now, as within, so without. You're going to start to project it out into your life. How you feel, how you act, the things you do and decide, following your intuition, follow your heart, you know, uh, and try as hard as you possibly can, because it still is a tussle. These things bother you that things bother you more than ever now, I think. For me, things, they try to pick at you harder than ever now. And I don't know if it's like trying to sabotage your spirituality, or if it's just more tests, or if it's more just getting it out of you. Because usually when you get so frustrated and fed up with something is when you make the change to where then it doesn't bother you anymore, because maybe it doesn't exist in your life anymore, or et cetera, et cetera. But so, don't get stressed out if you're struggling, and some days you feel like you're failing because you're getting mad, upset at things, and letting it bother you, and it's counterproductive to your spirituality. This is true, but it's natural, and it's gonna happen, and it's okay, And if you get worked up or upset about it, that's only making it worse. So you just kind of let it and process it and release it as fast as you can all the time, and let it go. So because we do this work, and now it's going to be that we grow on the inside, and therefore we are able to project it on to the outside. Okay, because this is how we work, and this is a big receiver. Okay, it sends and receives all day, every day, all night, always. I've seen it. I've seen it. Okay, uh, and this is too. This heart is constantly pulsing out. Right, that heartbeat. That's not just a little thump thump. That's insignificant. Oh, no, 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 no. It dictates your energy, and your energy field, your aura around you, your Merkaba. Okay, it dictates. All right, this is one of the most important things that we have. Uh, so that was like another level of the as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, and if you mess it up, as without, so within, right? Uh, and there's some more relevances, some more perspectives to that we could talk about, but I don't really see the importance right now. Maybe if they come up in a topic of discussion on different videos, you know. These to me are the most important aspects, and I try to leave out any negative or things that I found to just be nonsense. Okay, the most important is the spiritually, as above, so below, as within, so without. All what I just told you. You're connecting to your higher selves, your higher dimensional selves, your higher mode of thought, right? Your higher understanding, and you're bringing it into you, okay? And in doing that, you are raising up your consciousness is the same as raising up your DNA, is the same as upgrading your cellular structure, is the same, can be the same as jumping um, lifetimes. Okay, yeah, I get into that on like a reincarnation video. Okay, uh, doing these things is it's all doing the same work. All right, and it's amazing. And then as it happens, you grow on the inside, and instead of doing what we do when we're asleep, which is internalizing the outside surroundings, our environment, right, which can be very negative, and etc. You then begin to do the opposite, as within, so without, and you project it. Okay. Uh, Also is the understanding of as above, so below. Um, how things work on the macro is how they work on the micro, and in reverse, and all the way in between. Okay, this is how a really big teaching and understanding of this, because this is how you figure out how the physical world works, for the most part, and also how you work in ways, and how you connect a lot of dots with this understanding here put to that aspect. So you got the spiritual, you got the physical, uh, and what was the other one I talked about in the beginning? You could rewind and see if you want. Anyways, my point was those are like the biggest main. First of all, the full understanding of the saying. Second, those three aspects, perspectives of the teaching. All right. And there's a couple of other minor things, not too major. We'll probably touch on them later in other videos. Aside from that, people say a lot of nonsense about this as above, so below. It means that your good deeds outweigh your bad, and dar. I don't know how anyone made the connection of good deeds outweighing your bad being the meaning of as above, so below. But I'm really tired of hearing that. I don't want to be negative about it. Just please think about the information you're putting out to people. Okay, that doesn't even make sense. All right. Uh, Sometimes people get twisted understandings of these teachings and stuff, and they get a messed up thought process of what it means, and so then people may start to think things such as, oh, well, if I do good deeds, and then that's just, it outweighs my bad, and then whoop-de-doo. Why would we sit here and speak on concepts that sleeping people make? I don't think we should do that. So I really didn't mean to get on that, but this is just one of the things that really drove me to make me want to talk about this, is that I see so many misconceptions of this teaching, all right? And, if you want to go down a negative path or think about negative things or stupidity all day, then, that's your choice. But I advise anyone who's just going through this process, to just let's get clear understandings of teachings and what things are. And I tell you, like I said before, everything is neutral. If you want it to be negative, if you want to use it in a negative way, that is your free choice. That's how this place works. Okay? And that's on you. And you're going to create your reality in your life by doing that. Whichever way the boat floats, whichever way it falls, you're going to be responsible. You're going to be creating that, and you're going to bring back karma based upon that, even if it doesn't happen in this lifetime for you. I tell you, if you're doing messed up stuff on these modes of thinking, all it means is you're not going to ascend. When you die, you will be coming right back here. You're going to have to do it again, and it's going to be harder because you're going to be carrying around a bunch of extra negative karma. So, if you get negative understandings of these teachings, right, and use them in selfish ways, which you can do, and you will get ahead. You can use these understandings to step on people, to crush people, and to use it for your own personal satisfaction, growth, whatever, you know. But this, I'm telling you, this is exactly what you'll be doing. You will completely be blocking your process possibilities of ascension, okay? And when you die, you're just coming right back to this place to do it again. And it's not going to be fun for you the next time. It's going to be worse. If you thought you had negative things to deal with in this life, they're going to be compounded on your next one, because you'll be dragging this new karmic energy with you that is nothing but negative, because that's all you did. All right. So that's, a personal choice that I hope people aren't making, right? One of these points of making these videos is to want to raise consciousness, raise awareness for anybody who's sleeping and just, you haven't seen or understood yet, or you think about these things, because this is something while we're sleeping, man. I tell you, it's not like we're completely stupid. We notice stuff, we pay attention, sometimes we see things, we understand. But the thing is, then you get distracted again. You're overworked, because this is how society is. If you come from not that great of a place, and you're trying to improve your life and take care of your family and etc., chances are you are way overworked. You're working way too many hours at your job, and it's dominating your life. You don't have balance, and therefore you don't have peace and etc., and you can't raise your family as best as possible. You're probably not even around one of the parents, at least, etc. We can keep talking about this all day. So why did I get on that? There was a point to it. Sorry. Uh, it's just that. Oh yeah, while we're asleep, like we notice stuff and we pay attention, and most of us are good people, right? We're trying. Even when we do bad things sometimes or make mistakes, okay? It's not for us to be judging. And this is why in the higher dimensions, in the higher selves, right, in the higher perspectives, you don't judge like that, because that, like, they know not what they do, right? You know not what you do. As long as you're not being ignorant, like seeing something and just ignoring it, like, well, that doesn't matter, I do what I want, right? Then you're being a shithead, But you get my point. Anyways, this video is getting really long.